What's up, YouTube? Timmy's here. Here is my throwback segment where I talk about the films that turns 10, 20, 30, and 40 this week. Alright, the film celebrating their 10th anniversary is The Age of Adaline. Now, this movie, of course, starred Blake Lively, Harrison Ford, Anthony Gruber as a very young Harrison Ford, which he definitely looked so much like Ford. Like, I remember when they were talking about doing the Han Solo movie at one point. When it was first announced. And obviously, Solo was not cast at the time. Lots of people actually wanted this guy who played a young Harrison Ford in this to play Han Solo in that Solo movie, which I could have totally seen it, but at the time I never really saw him in anything else other than this, so I didn't really have too much hopes for that one. But Eldon Ehrenreich still did a good job. But anyway, now if you guys don't know much about The Age of Adeline, it stars Blake Lively as Adeline Bowman, who's a young woman who stops aging following like an accident at the age of 29. And of course, you have Michelle Huseman, from Game of Thrones fame, Harrison Ford. Really good little film here. Good performances by Blake Lively, by Harrison Ford. Really decent film worth giving a go. Alright, also turning 10 is The Water Diviner, which is kind of boring, to be honest here. It stars Russell Crowe, who also directs this movie. He plays Joshua Connor, who travels to Turkey soon after World War One, and of course, to find his three sons who never return here. It's not so good. I remember watching this one. I was completely bored out of my mind with it. Didn't really do anything for me. So yeah, not all that good. Not that good of a film, to be honest. All right. Also turning 10 is Little Boy, which is from the same director of Sound of Freedom. You have the likes of Michael Rappaport, Kevin James, Tom Wilkinson, Emily Watson, and of course stars Michael Rappaport, who plays the role of an auto mechanic who is sent to fight the Japanese during World War II, and he leaves behind his wife, played by Emily Watson, and two sons, one of which is played by David Henry, for Wizards of Waverly Place fame. And of course, he the youngest kid pretty much feels like his father's absent most nearly, and can't wait for him to return. And so, of course, an encounter with a magician and a priest, played by Ben Chaplin and Tom Wilkinson, convince Pepper to that the power to bring his dad back safely, maybe with him and his actions. Now, this is actually from the same director who would go on to do Sound of Freedom just recent. This movie probably would have been from Age of Studios if it was released today, but it was not a bad little film. I mean, really inspirational. Good performances by David Henry, Kevin James, and stuff. Really decent little film if you guys haven't seen that. Alright, now, also turning 10 is a movie that not many people probably heard of, simply titled Brotherly Love. Now, if you guys don't know much about Brotherly Love, it starred Keke Palmer, Romeo, Quincy Brown, who, by the way, I believe he's actually if I'm not mistaken, I think he's actually the son of Diddy. So, yeah. He was actually pretty good in the show Star, so there's that. Corey Hardwick. Now, of course, the movie is set in Philadelphia, and it follows high school basketball star Sergio Taylor, as he struggles to navigate the fame of becoming a star athlete, and so his older brother June, his own dreams of becoming a player fade away, and he turns to the street to provide for his family. And Sergio's twin sister Jackie saw her ambitions of having a music career, and of course, ends up falling in love with Chris and stuff. Keke Palmer was pretty solid in this. You also had Logan Browning, Macy Gray. Really decent film, worth giving a go. Great performances, and this is actually the movie that really made me become more of a fan of Keke Palmer's acting, to be honest here, because I've seen Keke Palmer's stuff beforehand, like Akilah and the Bee and all. But I feel like this is actually the movie that really made me appreciate her more as an actress, and obviously she's been doing some really good stuff since. Who doesn't love Keke Palmer, right? All right, film turning 20 this week is A Lot Like Love. Starring Ashton Kutcher, Amanda Peet, Catherine Hahn, Cal Penn. You even had Meghan Markle like years before. She became a princess. Uh, and this, of course, focuses on two individuals whose relationship slowly evolves from lust to friendship to romance over the course of 7 years. It's an okay little rom com. The chemistry between Kutcher and Pete. By the way, Pete's really good on that new show, Your Friend's a Neighbor. With John Hamm. Good show if you guys haven't seen it. Um, but yeah, they actually were both pretty decent in this. Cal Penn was pretty good. Ali Lauder. You had some really decent supporting cast members in this. Really, I mean, Ashton Kutcher, sometimes he could be a hit and miss once in a while with acting, but he was actually not bad in this one. All right, also turning 20 is King's Ransom. Now, this of course stars Anthony Anderson, who plays this businessman who arranges his own kidnapping, only to realize that there are plenty other people interested in his wealth as well. You also have the likes of Jay Moore, Donna Faison, uh, the late great Charlie Murphy. Really fun little comedy here. Anthony Anderson, I believe it's like one of the few times he actually led a film. Anthony Anderson is always the man. Who doesn't love Anderson, right? Uh, really fun little comedy here. Donna Faison was great. Jay Moore, I mean, really fun little comedy. Check out. All right. Also, now turning 30 this week is the Basketball Diaries. Of course, this star. This actually, I guess you say, the movie that put Mark Wahlberg on the map. Like, I believe this was actually his first feature, if I'm not mistaken. And also, I guess you say, was really the movie that put Leo DiCaprio on the map as well. You also had like Lorraine Bracco, Michael Imperioli, Ernie Hudson. If you guys don't know much about the story for this, uh, it's pretty much tells the story of of Carol's like teenage years as a promising high school basketball player and writer who develops an addiction here, and he pretty much develops a drug addiction. Uh, yeah, this is actually pretty much based on like the Sally, the film that this is actually based on. Sally, the real person, actually did pass away in real life, but DiCaprio in this was terrific. Very like intense at times. I mean, it really is the movie that really showcased DiCaprio's acting a little more. And obviously, it will go on to become a more prominent, bigger name star down the line. So yeah, if you guys haven't really seen Basketball Diaries, really good little film here. Very intense at times, but yeah. All right. Also turning 30 is Swimming with Sharks, which stars Kevin Spacey, Frank Whaley, Benicio del Toro. It's about a young, naive Hollywood studio assistant finally turns the tables on his abusive producer boss. Of course, played by Kevin Spacey, which it's a little always awkward to talk about Kevin Spacey nowadays for obvious reasons. But take, the Kevin Spacey stuff aside, he is still a great actor. Whether you talk about American Beauty, The Usual Suspects, and he was pretty good in Swimming with Sharks. I mean, wasn't it with Kevin Spacey always plays these sleazy bosses? I mean, from Swimming with Sharks to, obviously to Baby Driver, Horrible Bosses. Was it with him always plays sleazy bosses? Maybe he's sleazy in real life, obviously, but yeah. Still, it's a really decent film, worth giving a go. Of course, they did remake it for TV a few years ago, with the Madman girl, Curtis Shipka. So there's that. But the movie version is actually pretty decent, worth giving a go. All right, also turning 30 is While You Were Sleeping, which stars Sandra Bullock, Bill Pullman, the late great Peter Boyle, the late great Jack Warden. It's of course about this like romantic Chicago Transit Authority ticket booth operator who is mistaken for the fiance of a comatose patient, And this is actually a really cute, charming little film here. Sandra Bullock, Bill Palmer was pretty good. Obviously Bill Palmer would go on to do like Independence Day and many others. And I believe that this was actually one of like Sandra Bullock's earliest roles, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously at the time she was coming off of Speed, and I mean she always knows how to go from doing action stuff to rom coms and stuff. Sandra Bullock is always amazing, and here she was pretty solid. All right. Also turning 30. My bad. Is Kiss of Death, which is the film directed by single white female director Barbara Schroeder, starring David Caruso, who you might know from NYPD Blue fame. I think he was on one of the NCIS or CSI's shows, if I'm not mistaken. You had Sam Jackson, the aforementioned Michael Rappaport, Ving Rhames, Nick Cage. It's, of course, about a convict who goes undercover with an angry detective to snot a psychotic mobster here. Kiss of Death is awesome. The chemistry, of course, between David Caruso, Sam Jackson, Nick Cage was great in this. It is a really entertaining 90s crime film worth giving a go. And David Caruso, who doesn't love David Caruso, right? All right, also turning 30 is The Cure, which stars the late actor Brad Renfro, as well as former Jurassic Park actor Joseph Mazzello, and follows an unlikely friendship between two boys, one of whom is suffering from AIDS. And when the boy hears a possible cure for the disease, he sets out to find it. Not really too memorable, but Brad Renfro, because sadly he passed away at a very young age. I think he passed away at age 28 or something. You might remember him as the kid from The Client. He's done some other stuff here and there. Really good young actor. It's gone way too soon. Joseph Mazzello, obviously, you might remember him as the lead kid from Jurassic Park. He will also go on to appear in Bohemian Rhapsody a few years ago, too. They were both pretty decent in this one, so if you guys haven't seen it, say, give it a go. Alright, well, now, film turning 40 this week. I actually just rewatched this one. Just One of the Guys. Now, this is probably a movie that probably won't get made today, really. But if you guys don't know, now, it of course features the likes of William Zabka, who you might know as Johnny Lawrence from Karate Kid or Cobra Kai. And it's, of course, when, like, Terry Griffin loses her high school's riding competition. She convinces that it's because, she's a girl. So Terry decides to change high schools and pose as a boy to prove her point. And her brother, Buddy, played by Billy Jacoby, helps her pass as a guy so that she can, make friends with the, boys at school, including the attractive Rick, played by Clayton Roner. Again, this is probably a movie that would not really get made today, but it's actually a really nice 80s gem. It's not as popular as, let's say, other 80s teen comedies, like, let's say, The Breakfast Club or any other John Hughes movies, but it definitely, has some of his moments. I mean, of course, you had Joyce Heiser, who plays the lead. Really good little film if you guys haven't seen it. Alright. Also turning 40 is 1918, which is directed by Ken Harrison, starring Matthew Broderick. And of course, is the movie story of a small Texas town in 1918 until the influenza epidemic hits and several broken young men returns from the war in Europe. Not really too memorable. Like I probably only seen this thing only once. That was really it. Obviously Matthew Broderick at the time was coming off of Ferris Bueller. He's obviously always terrific, and he was actually pretty good in this one. Alright, also turning 40 is Stick, which stars the late great Burt Reynolds, the late great George Segal, the always amazing Murphy Brown star Kenneth Bergen, the late great Charles Durning, who you might know as the voice of Peter's father, Francis, our Family Guy. R.I.P. to him. Of course, this stars Burt Reynolds, who plays car thief Ernest Stick, who witnesses the murder of his friend Rainey, played by Jose Perez, during a drug deal. And it's not like Burt Reynolds' best work, but he was actually pretty decent in this one. George Seega, who you might remember him from the Goldbergs fame. Obviously, living legend. He's good in this one. The action's fun. I mean, who doesn't love Burt Reynolds? Like Burt Reynolds was the GOAT, and here he was terrific here. And also, not a bad film there. But that's pretty much it. Let me let you guys. Which of these films stand out to you the most? To me, the 10-year one is actually going to go to The Age of Adaline. 20-year one is going to go to, I'm probably going to say King Ransom. That's pretty good. The 30-year one's the Basketball Diaries. And the 40-year one, Just One of the Guys. Anyway, drop comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Timmy Sign.